It's the social, emotional, or the interpersonal skills that are being impacted. You see kids outside of school, you go into a local business and they're sitting at the table, four kids there, whether they're 12-year-olds or 20-year-olds, and they're all on their phones. They're not talking to the other three people at the table.
You're listening to the smartsocial.com podcast. This is our District Talk segment where we interview district leaders to learn how they're keeping students safe on social media. And we also ask them questions that we get from parents all over the country in our program. Now, let's get back to the interview.
Hi, my name is Daniel Sullivan. I am the superintendent of schools in Colchester, Connecticut. We have 4 schools and we have an enrollment of approximately 2,200 students.
Superintendent, it's so great to have you here today as we talk about keeping kids safe on social media so they can someday shine online. To all of our viewers and listeners, it's so good to have you here. And remember, there's no shame in this today as we talk about this with the superintendent. We're looking forward to chatting with you about how can this impact your family. All of our listeners are either parents, guardians, or superintendents, and everyone in between who we're cheerleading and helping and loving because you are the difference that the kids see so that we can build resilient kids in the future. Okay, superintendent, my question for you here today is a simple one. I want to actually do a little story time for just a sec, and then I want to ask you a question. And the story time is this. After a couple hundred of these superintendent conversations like you and I are having, which we've had over the last 2 years, we've heard a consistent trend in 40 plus states nationwide. We're hearing, and this may not be perfect for your community, superintendent, you might have little angels running around that are children and you may have zero problems. But we're hearing that students are growing up in a digital world filled with powerful tech, AI, and social media, but they lack the maturity and the guidance to use it safely. The result is more student absences, lower focus, rising cyberbullying. We're hearing declining self-esteem and sometimes AI misuse in the classroom. But parents are trying to raise good kids in a world they didn't grow up in, a world where now tech moves faster than safety policies. Teens know how to hide apps and online behavior, and safety lessons are typically coming after a crisis nowadays because there's so many crises. Superintendent, are there any other trends on this topic that you've seen so we can alert other school districts before they see them?
Well, it's a good question, Josh. And I think the reality is there's no one size fits all answer because, we have 2,200 students ranging from pre-kindergartners to 12th graders, and everybody's environment at home is different. Their access to technology at home is different. But I think what is the trend to me is that it's really it's the social, emotional, or the interpersonal skills that are being impacted. You see kids outside of school, you go into a local business and they're sitting at the table, four kids there, whether they're 12-year-olds or 12 or 20-year-olds, and they're all on their phones. They're not talking to the other three people at the table. And then you hear the stories from the parents or from the kids themselves who have some sort of embarrassing moment, some sort of bad day, and they just can't escape it. They can't go home and be free from whatever happened at school. It just lives on. And I think that's the thing that I find most disturbing. All the other stuff also concerns me, but I think there's no one size fits all because you have the little kid who has an iPad to pass the time. And then you have the families that have everybody unplug, turn off their devices, and sit down and do something as a family at night. So everybody's experience is a little bit different.
Yeah, and also kind of what you hit at is we here at Smart Social see the difference between family screen time together, like a movie time with popcorn, versus one-on-one iPad screen time where the kid is being babysat by the iPad. And again, for our listeners right now, both are important. We understand co-parenting, difficulty times. There's a conference call that kid might be in the other room because you're working right now from home or whatever. So parents, we see it all as important, but some as good screen time. We're watching Finding Nemo as a family versus iPad screen time, which might be a little bit less good. What would your advice be perhaps to parents when they come down to trying to have a dialogue with their kids to keep them safe? You kind of mentioned there's things that can happen online that could impact a kid or hurt a kid. It's not just like when you and I were growing up where you go back Monday to school and everybody forgot about it. You tripped and fell. Now it's recorded and it's on everywhere. What's your advice to parents so they have that early dialogue with kids about, hey, if this ever happens to you, you can come to me, you can chat with me. or here's how to feel ahead of that issue?
Well, I think it's two prong, and I think that's a little bit the mission of your podcast too. Is how does school and families work as partners?
Mm-hmm.
So in Connecticut, there's a gentleman named Scott Driscoll who many school districts have brought in to run workshops for kids and for parents, largely focused at middle school, high school age. And he was previously a Glastonbury, Connecticut police officer, did a lot of the internet sex crime and that kind of investigation. And he really has dug into technology and runs terrific workshops, again, for kids and for parents and for school staff.
Yeah.
But I think the most important thing for parents is to get educated. The lens that adults have on technology versus the lens that kids have on technology is very different. One of the guys I used to work with in another school district used to refer to today's youth as digital natives. So their comfort level of technology, their ability to navigate it, manipulate it, and utilize it is so different than their parents. So I think for parents, you just need to get educated, need to be informed, and then you need to do the hard work. No kid really wants their parent going through their phone. And arguably, I think there's times that parents don't want to go through their kid's phone because they're a little bit afraid of what they might see. But it's the responsibility you have as a parent, and parenting has never been easy. I have two kids of my own.
Yeah, very well said. I love how you just hit on it's a responsibility of the parent to kind of go through the kid's phone. I think it's powerful. For all of our viewers and listeners, we reach millions of people a year and we get a lot of parent questions. Here's one of the questions we get at our live events. Hey Josh, what advice would you give a student to help them recognize some of the red flags of a dangerous stranger? Well, let's hear from a real teenager about how she might help her friend recognize red flags.
If I had a friend talking online to a stranger, I think that I would feel a little bit uncomfortable with the whole situation. I would advise against it because so many indirect issues can come from that, and it could cause something to be worse than if they had just unadded them in the first place. Some red flags that I would have to advise them to cut it off with this person or to stop engaging would be if the person starts to get very involved in their personal life and they seem to be very intrigued in what's going on with them and wanting to know all the little details about what they do and who they are, and just very personal details and things that you wouldn't normally share with a stranger in real life. If they're very persistent and constantly wanting to talk to my friend or constantly trying to be involved in their life or wanting to speak to them, I feel like that's kind of a red flag. Another thing would be if they ask them to ever meet them anywhere in person right from the start, if they feel a sense of being uncomfortable or their intuition is just saying it's wrong, or if my intuition is saying something feels wrong with this, then I think that's a major red flag.
Now, parents, remember, if your school district is a current partner, we have weekly live parent events, as you can see on the left part of the screen. These can be joined from your tablet or smartphone from anywhere in the world. And there's real teens, you can see in the middle of the screen, teen-led video lessons. So a lot of parents are bringing their teens and they're saying afterward, hey, Josh, my teen kind of like this. They learned from other teens that more than an hour on TikTok actually hurts the kids, and they listen to the teens more than me. And there's a premium parent newsletter. So parents, we're here for you. This is what happened in New York. If you attend these events, not only are you entered for a chance to win a Kindle, a 3D printer, or a Bluetooth speaker that we give away every week, but also we're finding that parents have a closer relationship with their kids. There's less stress. There's more happiness. Here's what happened in New York. You are the one that needs to decide whether it's too much screen time or just right.
But parents and teachers know when it comes to teenagers and social media, that's easier said than done. So, in an effort to protect students from the dangers of being chronically online, schools are doing something you might not expect, asking parents to get online too.
It makes an awareness to parents and students. It also gives them an understanding of some of the warning signs.
That's just one reason why Deron Wilson, an executive director of school engagement, says his district uses the app Smart Social. It's an online app designed to educate parents and students on how to avoid strangers and dangerous situations online.
Kind of like, I want to say, a trap. When you get involved in the cyberbullying, you might start friending somebody on an app, or somebody might say, hey, they might send me your picture.
Smart Social founder Josh Oakes says while there are a lot of things that can and should scare us online, the increased number of parents he is able to reach underscores the importance of growing social gathering spaces online.
Back in the day, I used to be one of the top social media safety speakers nationwide, but I was flying around to certain school districts and they're the best of intentions, but only 20 or 30 parents would show up. We get 10 times the amount of parents to show up, and they want to learn from the convenience of their home or office how to keep their kids safe on social media. They want to ask live questions. They want to learn how to have dialogue starters with their kids that actually get their kids excited about talking with their parents and strengthening that relationship.
Darcy Wertique, Spectrum News.
Now, parents, remember, we have live events every single week and we have giveaways and all kinds of stuff. I want to show all of our current parents at the current districts that we're partnering with at the front of Smart Social. Not only do you have your latest app guides, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Snapchat, Fortnite, Minecraft, Roblox, Netflix, WhatsApp, and more. We have 450 of them in 12 different languages. It takes an army over here to do this. But our next events, and not only to protect your kids, but get a giveaway, avoiding strangers, reducing arguments. We have these every single week, sometimes 2 or 3 times a week. And then we have incredible replays, multilingual, so no one is left behind. Parents, make sure that you're at our next event if you can. We're super excited to have you as a guest. Okay, we're back over with our guest, Superintendent. I want to continue to ask you another important question. After these 200 plus interviews with your peers in 40 plus states, we've also heard from communities the following thing. Many parents are feeling overwhelmed, they're telling us, trying to keep up with fast moving online trends and digital safety risks. In addition, students are finding ways during the school year to increase their screen time and bend the rules, especially when expectations at school differ significantly from those at home. Hey, Superintendent, what trends or pain points are you seeing when it comes to parent engagement? And where do you feel families are struggling the most to stay informed or connected?
Well, I think it goes a little bit to a couple of the clips that you just played, right? Is parents are overwhelmed. We have way more parents working from home than ever before. So at times when a young kid comes home from school, it's a little bit easier probably to have them stay busy on technology than it is to say go play outside. You know, I heard the author of The Anxious Generation speak not that long ago, and he asked a lot of great questions, like how old were you, meaning the audience, when you started playing outside by yourself, and the ability just to kind of keep yourself occupied, come up with games, play with your friends. And now, what age do parents let their kids play outside by themselves? And the challenge that kids have these days, kind of just setting up the rules and organizing it, because it's a different world. They're used to a very structured world, and they're also in a time where, because of the fast moving aspect of technology and even the way it's structured, the attention span is not what it used to be. So I think that's one of the online trends is kids are just spending a lot more time online, sometimes because it's being handed to them, and other times because as they get older, it's just how they like to keep busy. Similarly, you look at the trend where video games have been around for a long time, but at one point in time, kids would go over a friend's house and play video games together. Now you come home, you close the door to your room, you put on your headphones, and you play with your friends, but there's no social aspect before or after. And that's also, I think, an opportunity sometimes to wind up meeting strangers through the video game world, where somebody wants to play a game with you, but you really don't know who they are, how old they are, where they're from, and what their motives are. But you play games every day online, you start making small talk in there, and there's some safety risks that go with that. Um, and again, so much of what folks do is online, that I think if people really add up their screen time, I mean, you probably have folks that are easily hitting anywhere from 8 to 12 hours a day online, whether some of it productively and perhaps for school or work. And then another whole nother aspect of it is very social. So again, similar to before, I think parents need to really be informed, understand all of the risks that go with it, not just the physical safety, but that's obviously uber important. But what is the mental health aspect of it, where you're doing something that's called social, but you're actually not developing your interpersonal and social skills, because again, like you log into a video game and you immediately start playing. Whereas, you went over somebody's house when you were a kid, you talk to their parents a little bit, you go upstairs, you're still making sort of small talk, joking around, then you play games for an hour or two, and then you do something else before you get picked up. Now you plug in, play games, unplug, and you're done.
Yeah, you bring up a good point. I wrote down, is it really social media or is it anti-social media or unsocial media? It's a really good point. And we're adding to this podcast some HR professionals. Big companies are struggling with this too. How do we keep their employee engagement high by helping employees at home to manage kids so that at work they're happier? We're only as happy as our least happy kid, right? And we're hearing that some professionals and parents are spending 13 hours a day on their phone. Before the kids wake up, they're checking emails, and they get the kids up and moving, and then they're at work all day or working from home and in the evening and stuff like that. I mean, 13 hours flies by, and it's almost half your day. I mean, more than half your day, right?
In two different ways, that's something that concerns me quite a bit.
Yeah.
So on the one hand, it has become increasingly hard, at least in Connecticut, to find the workforce that we used to be able to find. The ability to hire substitute teachers, to hire paraprofessionals and custodians and so many other support staff in schools. The workforce has shrunk because coming off of the pandemic, everybody wants to work from home. And I can see the desire to work from home. I see how it saves you commuting time, commuting money, might save you on childcare and so many other things. But our kids depend on that workforce. Our schools depend on that workforce. So that's a pressure point for us. But on the flip side of what you're talking about too, so much of communication now is through the internet. Teachers communicate with families in our district through a platform called Parental. And it's a great technology. It has a Facebook-like feed, so you can let parents know what's going on, and you can put newsletters and photos and assignments and all of that right there.
Yeah.
And then parents can communicate directly with the teacher, and then schools themselves communicate with staff through email. The problem, though, as you point out, is so many people are at home and they get these alerts on their phone, whether it's a pop-up telling them that a parent just messaged them on the app, or they get the ding on their phone telling them that they just got an email. And how do you unplug and recharge for the next day, or just be present in your family time?
Yeah, so true. So true. So many issues and such a good topic to discuss. Hey, Superintendent, I really want to thank you for your time today. You took time out of your busy day to share some tips. Thanks for being here.
My pleasure. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Thanks to all of our listeners today. Again, if you're a parent, a guardian, or a superintendent, or anyone in between, we have you supported here at smartsocial.com, as we have 450 resources and app guides to cover the hottest apps. If you have a question, we usually have a resource that answers it, built by our amazing US team here in the United States that are real parents just like you. Also, we're excited in the going back to school to have perhaps the biggest anti-bullying campaign in the whole country, October, teaching every kid not just how to not bully, but how to behave positively online. Parents, remember one last thing. Whenever you're posting, remember to keep it light, bright, and polite, because our kids are watching what we post online. I'm Josh Oakes, the host of the smartsocial.com podcast. I'll see all of you on the next episode. Have a great rest of the day. Thanks for listening to the smartsocial.com podcast. Smart Social helps parents understand technology and social media to keep their kids safe and successful. Be sure to join one of our weekly online live events to become the smartest parent on the block, so you can keep your kids safe and protect their future. Also, don't miss our 450 plus online resources and replays you can watch on demand in multiple languages. Are you a school district wanting to unlock these resources for your parents? Reach out to us so we can protect your whole community each week. Have a great rest of the day, and we'll see you on the next episode.